All right, let's get into it. I haven't posted a YouTube video in a while because I haven't really done much of anything in a while. The car has been down for longer than I'd like to admit. Went through the motor and changed the block. I changed everything but probably the connecting rods. I think that was all that was left of the old setup. I wanted to change the block to go to a larger bore to take advantage of the Higgins heads, and I also wanted to be able to control the lash on the street with Dragweek. So I just kind of started over. The aluminum block grew so much on the street that it was tough on the lifters, on the valve train. You know, you have to close up the lash. You'd have to open it up sometimes if it was cold. So I don't want to deal with that hassle anymore. So there she is. Biggest change is obviously everything under the hood. Still got the Star vacuum pump, upgraded to Higgins billet valve covers with coils from Firecore wires. Paul at Total Induction hooked it up with all that stuff. Rewired the whole car, cleaned everything up, as you can see. Put Deutsch connectors wherever I could, wherever it made sense. Fuel system still the same. Newer radiator. That was on the old Higgins combo, but that's pretty fancy looking. Moving into the interior, I redid a lot in here. It doesn't look like I did, but I moved the seat back about an inch to try to get the weight bias a little better. Doing that made the steering wheel sit way too high, so I spaced the factory steering column down 3/4 of an inch. Add a little quick release in there and to move the steering wheel back a touch. And I'm very happy with the way all that feels. I still got the same old man tack with the big numbers. Still got the same Liberty shifter. That's not going anywhere. Seat mount is, I think, important to talk about. I was just running that regular same Kirky mount that everybody does, where it puts 2 bolts basically like right on each side of your spine. And the more I got thinking about it, it's like if this seat gets torn up and those things are just going to go straight in my back. If you look at the Kirky mount that's in here now, I feel like everybody that's got a Kirky seat should have one of these. It's similar to what the Race Tech guys use on their seats. And, you know, this thing it bolts to the seat and has so much surface area. I got 4 bolts back there. And it's bolted to the roll cage with 1/2-inch bolts. Everything there is so much more rigid, and I feel a lot safer in the car with that seat mounted like that. The old mount, you know, it was decent, but you could move the seat around. Now you try yanking on that seat and it bounces the whole car around. So it is, I feel like, really tied well to the cage with that mount. So I was happy with how that came out. Everything in the interior, I put added a clutch stop here to the other side. I have a return spring on that clutch pedal that it was pulling back on the fork and making the fork contact the pressure plate, so had to do something about that. That is about everything you can see from up top. I did have to go through the transmission. I tried to be slick and take a little bit of first gear out of it, but this car, it put me at about a 12.3 to 1 starting line ratio, and everything was kind of on the edge as it was, and that just pushed it over the edge where the clutch tune-up was really hard to get a handle on. I went to Island Dragway, and the car was very violent on the shifts and very lazy on the starting line. So I was also fighting the bump at Island. My 2-3 shift happened right at the bump, and it was also, I mean, the track temperature was through the roof that day, so that day was kind of a bust. I'll put the videos in here and you can see what I was going through there. shift at the bump, and that was as sideways as I've ever been in this car. Kind of freaked me out, so I decided after that point to only make 1-2 gear shifts for the rest of the day, and we were only able to get one more pass in before the track shut down. So after the trip to Island, I was hoping that was going to be a better test day, but it is what it is. And went to Lebanon Valley after that, took the car out, changed a little bit on how I was running the clutch, and turned out I went in the wrong direction. I tried to take some counterweight off, but all that did was make it drive through the clutch. So added some weight to the clutch and made another hit. As you can see here, the thing had a ton of wheel speed. That video, I think I was leaving around 5,500 on the two-step, so I decided to try to calm that down a little bit, turn the leave down to 4,500, and... That's a power story. I have a trailer that drives across the country. It stuck, but it would not accelerate, and that is due to the gear change. The gear change was the wrong direction. It is what it is. Like, these things happen sometimes. Stick shift car. As my buddy Mark says, I'm a glutton for punishment with this thing. I change stuff around without enough data, and it bit me. But that's fine. Came back home, pulled the transmission apart, and found that the headset I wanted to put back in the transmission that would have got me from a 377 to a 389 first gear was cracked. After finding that, I decided that I really need to take a detailed look at the whole transmission, every gear in this thing, sliders, everything. And I did that, and I found that fourth gear definitely cracked, and third gear had a questionable mark on one of the teeth that I wasn't sure if it was a crack from driving it. No idea, but I decided while I was there, I'm spending the money, just do it now. And worst case, I have spares for later. So when I called Liberty, they did not have the 389 first gear headset that I wanted. So I've run the transmission like a 4-speed, and I use fifth as overdrive with a 327 rear gear, and that gets me a decent cruise RPM. It's not as good as an overdrive transmission, but when I bought this transmission, nobody had even gone like 9s with a T56 Magnum. They had just come out, and I didn't really want to be the guinea pig. Looking back now, those transmissions are obviously much stronger than what I would ever need. But I do like the transmission I have. I like the V-Gate. I like the amount of ratio choices I have. Being an NA guy, I can get the ratios a little closer to where I want them this way. And with Liberty not being able to get me that 389 first gear again, that headset that I had cracked, I decided to take a sacrifice on the cruise RPM for the drives at Dragweek and put a 355 rear gear in the car. So that's going to take me from a 12.3 to 1 starting line ratio to, I believe it's a 13.2 or 13.4, somewhere in that range. But that is a huge jump. The car responded very well going from 12.2 to a 12.7 in the past. And so I think that that is really what the car needs, because what I've found with testing the car is that it's either all or nothing with the clutch. If I'm on a really tight track, I can put a bunch of clutch in it and the car will be fast. But if I have to take any kind of clutch out of it and I cannot get the car to generate the wheel speed it needs to accelerate to the 60-foot cone. You know, this car would dead hook and it went like a 155 60 foot. So we cannot have that. I would really love to see it going like a 129. I'm also learning the new clutch. I have a Black Magic Defiant clutch that it's not the same as the Ace clutch that I had. It's the way that it applies pressure is a little bit different. So the learning curve with that has been steep, and it's unfortunate that Dragweek is next week and I don't have like 10 more passes on this car, because I think that I've learned a lot every single pass, but I still have a lot to learn with the setup. That was the quick rundown of, I don't know if it was quick, but it was definitely a rundown of the combination going into Dragweek this year. I am going to try and do a little better at taking video of my car, of Cecino's car. Because I would like to put together some videos like I did back in 2013 and 2015 when I did Dragweek. I really enjoyed doing those, and it's fun showing that stuff to my family and friends. So yeah, I want to try to take as many people along on the journey as I can. And it's been a crazy thrash so far. So I'm going to get there, put it on the two-step and see what happens. I'm also on the wait list too, so hopefully I even actually get into Dragweek. But I think that we all know that they haven't turned anybody away yet, and I don't think this year's going to be the year. So if you're out of Dragweek, see the car, come say hello. If you're out at Dragweek in a parking lot in a hotel and you see us drinking beer, come grab a beer. You have beer, bring your own. It's going to be a good year. I'm really looking forward to getting back to Dragweek. It's been 7 years now since I've made a pass. Last pass was against Frank at the stick shift shootout. It was probably the best drag racing pass I'll ever have. I don't think you can get a better race than what that was with the circumstances of how that day went down. It was a blast. So here you go. Enjoy.
And here comes the gear jammers, the stick shift. Next round is coming up to the starting line as Frank Romano brings the 55 Chevrolet to the ready line. Next to Jeff Sias. This will be a good one. Both of these cars are 990 cars, at least they are today. Sias' car has been in the 80s, but today was a 990 machine. So you want a big block powered 1955 Chevrolet or a small block powered 1990 Mustang? This is a good one. Sias from Wilbraham, Massachusetts. Romano from Melville, New York. Couple of New Englanders up there. Let the clutch out and go. Romano's got a slight starting line advantage, and he's going to need all of it. The big block Chevy powered shoebox Chevy running out of space, running out of time, but he gets the win light. Wow, wow, 997.3 beats a 997.9. Frank Romano drove himself down there, got himself 800s off the starting line and held on to most of it. 997.3, 136 beats a 997.9. Wow, that's a drag race down there. That's some good stuff right there. Wow. Romano was 114 in the tree, Sias 205, and the only advantage Frank had, believe it or not, Jeff made up about 100th of it to 60 feet, made up a little bit more to 330. He was starting to chew up a lot of it, but Frank Romano got him at the stripe. 900, so at 136, probably about 6-8 feet, give or take.